Hi, Monarchs. I'm Dr. Barry Gribbets, president of LA Valley College, joining you for another town hall. I have a few updates for you this week. Before I get to the updates, if you have any questions, please continue to go ahead and post them into the chat right after I'm done with the updates on the new vaccination requirement and vaccination on campus and late start classes. And then I'll take your questions. So the first update that I have for you is related to the vaccination requirements. Today is actually the deadline. Today, October 11th, is the deadline to submit exemptions. Submitting the rest of your vaccination information through the Cleared For account is due next week, due October 18th. So please do take a look at the Cleared For account, the information you're getting from Cleared For, and upload the vaccination information into your account. If you haven't yet been vaccinated, please do so immediately and submit whatever vaccination information that you have into the Cleared For account. You can get the single dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine, upload that information. If you're interested in getting the 2-dose sequence from Pfizer or Moderna, please do get that first dose immediately and at least upload that information into the system. The deadline is next week, so it's fast approaching. In addition to the vaccination information, you can and still need to do the baseline testing. You can do that on campus on Mondays and Tuesdays, and we'll begin that weekly weekly testing for those who have the exemption after the 18th. Next week, actually this Saturday, October 16th, from 8 to 4, we will have a vaccination clinic in Lot A. So if you haven't yet become fully vaccinated, please stop by the vaccination clinic in Lot A this Saturday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. As a reminder that if you get your vaccine through our vaccination clinic on site, that you'll be eligible for a $150 bookstore voucher to the LA Valley College bookstore. So take advantage of that opportunity. That'll be happening this Saturday. The next update that I want to provide relates to late start classes. We do have additional late start classes beginning in about 2 weeks on October 25th. If you have room in your schedule of classes to add one more class, this is a terrific opportunity to pick up a class. If you haven't yet signed up for any classes for the fall semester, and do sign up for late start classes and are eligible for a financial aid or a fee waiver, you will still be eligible for the $1,000 federal stimulus. If you've already received the $1,000 federal stimulus for this fall semester, you won't get an additional $1,000 for late start classes. That will be available to folks who have not signed up for any classes and are eligible for the fee waiver. I also wanted to provide you a heads up that winter registration starts. The schedule is available now, and registration starts next week with priority registration groups. So look for more information in the student portal on your specific appointment. Lastly, we are working on the spring schedule classes. The spring schedule classes will be available in November. With that, let me see what questions that we have in the chat. There's a comment about the COVID testing and the nasal swab. As a reminder, you do have the ability to get 3 different types of COVID tests. All of them are PCR tests, but they take the samples in 3 different ways. Here on campus, there's an oral swab that you can do and 2 different nasal swabs. So if you have a preference for one versus the other, a lot of us have some sensitivity with our noses and they prefer the oral swab that is available for you at the on-campus COVID testing that's happening on Mondays and Tuesdays. Another question I see relates to getting the new link for the Cleared For account if you've missed the deadline or if you've misplaced the link. If you've misplaced the link, I'll have folks post into the chat ways that you can get a new link sent to you. But the easiest answer I can provide is to contact our Welcome Center. If you need any help with the cleared for information and how to get a new link sent to you for your personal cleared for account or upload information, please contact the Welcome Center here at LA Valley College. Question from Edward: what will happen to students who haven't been tested or vaccinated yet? If a student doesn't get vaccinated or do the baseline testing in the fall semester and they miss that October 18th deadline, there will be a process that's used, a discipline process that's used. Our focus is going to be on bringing students into compliance, so we want all of our students to be in compliance with the new board policy and not have to do discipline. So we'll be reaching out to students, giving them more information about how to get into compliance, and we'll do everything we can to bring students into compliance. But if students just refuse, this only applies to students taking in-person classes. But if a student is taking in-person classes and just refuses to comply with the new board policy on vaccination or getting an exemption, then it would proceed to discipline. So please do take a look at the information that's being sent out to you versus via email, text messages, and by phone, and follow up on the information that's provided. There's a question about another $1,000 stimulus. The $1,000, we won't have another $1,000 available for those who have already received the first $1,000 in the fall semester. As I mentioned early on, though, if you have not yet received a $1,000 stimulus and you sign up for a late start class and are eligible for the fee waiver, then you will receive the $1,000. We do anticipate having an additional federal stimulus support sent out to students for the spring semester. So look for that information as we approach the spring semester. If you haven't received the $1,000, but you did sign up for it for the fall semester and register for classes and have the enrollment fee waiver, please contact the financial aid department. You can also go into the student portal under financial aid and confirm the status there. Any questions that you have, though, please go back, please contact our financial aid department and look into the details of why you didn't receive the information. A question about Cal Grant C and when you expect to receive it. You could check the student portal for additional information on the disbursements, as well as contacting the financial aid department on your specific account. A question about being eligible for a college grant with a very low income. With income of that level, you likely are eligible for a variety of types of financial aid. If you start off by completing our FAFSA, our financial aid folks will be able to connect you with different resources that are available to you. And there are a variety of types of resources that could be available through a couple of different departments. But the first step would be to connect with our financial aid folks, and then they can direct you to other resources that also might be helpful for you. And let me see. I see another question about whether or not mandatory vaccines are going to be required for the nursing program. Yes, since the nursing program is in person, students will be required to be vaccinated or have an exemption on file. Hospital clinical sites might also have additional requirements, but all students taking in-person classes at Valley College, like nursing, are required to have a vaccination information uploaded into the cleared for system or have an exemption on file. Exemptions are being provided for religious and medical purposes only. Let me see what additional questions that we might have. A question about the student ID. For additional information about processing time for the student ID, you can contact the Welcome Center. They'll be able to give you additional details on that. A question about from Sukanya about getting a message about setting up a bank account with the company. Is it real or a scam? Any questions that you have, if it is a real account that you need to set up, you can chat with our financial aid department and they'll be able to validate whether the email that you got is real. So please do contact our financial aid department to confirm that. A lot of times people do send scam emails out to students asking them for account information. We don't ask students for personal account information. If you think it might be connected with financial aid, though, please do contact our financial aid department. They'll be able to let you know. A question from Joseph on when will restrictions be lifted for those that are vaccinated. The only restriction that we have in place for in-person classes is to wear a mask indoors. Well, mask indoors and to complete the daily symptom check. We will continue to require students to complete the daily symptom check while the LA County Department of Public Health orders are in place. In terms of wearing masks indoors, everyone will need to continue to wear the mask indoors until the board repeals the board policy that was recently enacted. I don't anticipate that happening in the next few months, but I know that the district and board of trustee monitors the situation closely to see how we're doing against the pandemic. Outdoors, masks are not required unless one's in a crowd of folks. There's a question about why forcing folks into a medical procedure that may cause some challenges. And we recognize that a lot of folks may not want to get the vaccine for a variety of reasons. If someone has a medical reason, they can request a medical exemption so that they don't have to get vaccinated. But even still, we know that a lot of folks will have discomfort with getting a vaccination. And for that reason, we're going to continue to offer online classes to meet students' needs. So we'll still have hundreds of options to take online classes for those who are not ready to come back in person or not ready to get vaccinated. I myself have been vaccinated since last spring. I would strongly encourage folks to get vaccinated. It's the one way we're going to end this pandemic. But I also recognize that that's an individual's choice. And for those folks, we'll continue to make sure that we have plenty of online options that are available. A question about blood COVID testing. No, we don't do any blood COVID testing. Our COVID testing that we do is only through oral or nasal swabs. Question about getting the $1,000 stimulus check. So if a student is eligible for financial aid and enrolled in the fall semester, at the beginning of the semester, then they automatically receive the $1,000. If a student has not yet received it, but is enrolling in late start classes and is eligible for financial aid or enrollment fee waivers, then they will get the $1,000 check automatically. There's nothing else that has to be applied for other than completing the regular financial aid application through FAFSA or the College Promise Fee Waiver. A question from Jose about whether or not vaccinations cost money and are they on campus. Jose, yes, we do have vaccinations on campus. The next vaccination clinic is actually this Saturday. No, they don't cost any money. Anyone is welcome to receive their vaccination from the on-campus vaccination. If you are a student, we will also give you a $150 gift card to the Valley College bookstore. So not only is there no cost for students, but you'll also be eligible for a bookstore voucher. And let me see what additional questions that we have in the chat. And Ryan, I see that you're having trouble seeing the times and dates for late start classes that you're enrolled in. If you need some additional help, please contact our Welcome Center or Admissions and Records, and they'll be able to help you find the details of your classes. Curtis asked if the stimulus check is only available to LAVC students. Yes, Curtis, you do have to be an LAVC student, and LAVC has to be set as your home college. So you do want to check to make sure that you have set LAVC as your home college in the student portal, and that you're enrolled in classes for this fall semester. A question from Jose about how do you register for vaccination? There is information on our website under LAVC COVID information that has more details about how to set up an appointment for the vaccination. But you can also just stop by at any time for the vaccination. You don't need a prior appointment. A question from Lucas, great question from Lucas. If you completed the exemption vaccination information, do you still have to do a baseline test? Yes, Lucas, you do still have to do a baseline test. And for folks who have an exemption, they'll have to complete weekly COVID testing. So for each week that you're on campus, you'll have to complete the COVID testing. A question from Edward, what disciplinary measures will be taken if students don't get vaccinated or tested by the deadline and haven't filed for an exemption? Could they be expelled or suspended? Edward, yes. If a student doesn't comply with the board policy, they'll be first excused. We're of course going to try to work with the student to come into compliance, but for students that refuse to come into compliance, they'll be initially excused from the class for a couple of days. And then ultimately, if the student still doesn't come into compliance, they'll be removed from the class. A good question from Katrina about when will the emergency laptop grant be distributed? The emergency laptop grants are distributed on an ongoing basis. And for more information about your particular laptop and the status, especially if it's been more than a week or two, please contact the Welcome Center. They'll be able to look up more information, be able to get that for you. And let me see if we have some additional questions. I see one question on will a booster be required? Booster shots are not required at this time. Only the initial COVID testing is required. A question from Jose about if you're not vaccinated, will you not be allowed to enter the campus? Vaccinations are required to come onto campus or to have an exemption on file. So you either, by the new board policy, to come in for in-person services or classes, need to be vaccinated or have an exemption on file. Question from Lucy on the requirements for financial aid. There's a couple of different types of financial aid. It all starts with completing the FAFSA. And if you can't complete the FAFSA, you can complete the College Promise Fee Waiver application. There are some other options for you. A great way to start is to contact the financial aid department or simply go online to the financial aid department's website, and all the forms are readily available for you there. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact the financial aid department. A question on where to upload the Promise Grant application. There's no link at the bottom of the form. For additional questions on completing and submitting the College Promise application, the College Promise program information is available through the LAVC Promise Department. And if you have a hard time contacting folks or connecting with the right phone number and email links, you can always contact the Welcome Center and they'll make sure that they direct you to the right office. Yeah, let me see what additional questions that we have. A question from Irisha about if you get an exemption, are you still going to get disciplinary actions against you? No, if you haven't approved the exemption, you won't have to get vaccinated. You will have to do the weekly testing though. So as long as if you have the exemption, as long as you complete the weekly testing, you'll be fine. A question from Anna, will you have to resubmit religious exemptions for each semester? Anna, that hasn't been determined by the district yet. I suspect that it'll carry over from semester to semester though. And let me see what additional questions that you might have. There's a question about student loan applications being available. For specific questions about loan applications, please contact the financial aid department and they'll be able to look it up for your individual student accounts. A great question from Laura. Do you still have to submit an exemption if you take online classes only? No. If you take online classes only and don't access the resources on campus, you do not need to be vaccinated or to complete an exemption. That is only for folks taking online classes or using online. I'm sorry, those are only for people taking in-person classes or using in-person services. If you're taking online classes only, you do not need to be vaccinated or have an exemption on file. A question from Crystal about the Cleared 4 account. If you have any questions about your account, you can't access your account, please contact the Welcome Center and they'll be able to help you get the information that you need in creating your account. And let me see if we have additional questions posted in the chat. I don't see any additional questions. Thank you all for joining me this afternoon. We hope that the information was helpful. If you have any questions at all, please do continue to send them to us. We want to make sure that we do everything that we can to support you. All of our students, staff, and faculty are doing a tremendous job in this pandemic. We know that these are challenging times for everybody. If there's anything that you need that we can help support you with, please don't hesitate to let us know. Thank you all again, and I look forward to another update soon.